Turn on recording, and we are good to go. All right, so once again, thanks everyone for being with us here today. My name is Phil Bowers. I am the Director of Marketing here at Grandstream, and I personally am super excited to be introducing our two new GSC series IP video surveillance cameras to you. Those of you that know Grandstream well, that have been with us for a while, you know that we used to have a whole full series of IP video surveillance cameras. And essentially what we did over the last couple of years is we kind of took a step back from the previous camera series that we were making. We slightly redesigned it. We put some new stuff in it. And essentially the result is now that we have these two new cameras that are coming in at a much lower price point than our previous cameras. Both of these guys retail, again, the retail price starts around $59 US. So these are great devices to add IP video surveillance to any SIP or any VoIP network. And we'll be, as we go, I'll tell you more about these cameras. So without further ado, let's get going. I'm going to start off here by telling you about basically an overview of these two products. We'll go through the major feature highlights of it. We'll talk about the integrations specifically with Grandstream products, but also with third-party network video recorders, network attached storage, and the like. We'll do a quick competitive analysis, and then we'll wrap up with deployment examples. As I mentioned, it should be about a 20-minute webinar here today. So the GSC series of IP video surveillance cameras, which we launched officially last week, the middle of last week. So we have two cameras that we have officially launched. We have the GSC3610, which you see on the top of your screen on the left there. That is a dome camera. And then we have the GSC3615, which is a bullet camera. And basically the difference between those, obviously, is the dome is pretty much meant for mounting on a ceiling, and the bullet camera is more ideal for wall mounting. Other than the look and the shape of these cameras, they are exactly the same. All of the specs otherwise are exactly the same. They both support full 1080p HD video. They both give you a fixed 3.6 millimeter lens, which I'll show you, I think on the next screen, is ideal for wide angle monitoring of close proximity subjects, which is pretty much your average surveillance need. These guys both are made with IP66 level weatherproof casing. It's made with weatherproof metal casing, both guys, which allows them to be used outdoors. Obviously, they both used indoors as well. To be honest with you, we expect more of these to be used indoors and outdoors, but they are weatherproof, and they will fully work in any outdoor condition. Both of these guys have smart infrared technology, which allows them to monitor activity in low light, at night, in dark enclosed areas, etc. You see that each of them right on the face has those two infrared LEDs built right into them. Gives them about a 20-meter range for those LEDs, or for the infrared. And one of the most unique things about our devices, and I'll be honest, it's something that I think that maybe that I didn't fully understand until recently, is that they are fully functioning SIP devices. They have that full SIP VoIP support built in, and that allows these devices to make and receive calls, which in the case of what we're talking about here, allows them to very proactively send alerts and notify other devices or other people when something like motion detection occurs. We'll get to this later on, but a lot of the current, the major manufacturers within the IP surveillance area are making IP cameras, which doesn't necessarily allow them to have that functionality to make and receive calls, which is something pretty unique that we offer. And I'll touch on that later on and show you how truly powerful that is. So to kind of take a step back and go through these guys from a little bit of a feature overview, obviously, I mentioned the full 1080p HD video support. Both of these devices also give you built-in dual streaming capability. So that would allow the camera to send for example, a signal to both wherever the video is being recorded and monitored, and also send another signal to an IP phone, for example, when an alarm occurs. Smart infrared technology, as we mentioned, allows these cameras to monitor in low light or no light. The weatherproof casing does have built-in power over Ethernet, giving you the ability to power these devices with PoE. The supports alert notifications via outbound voice and video calls or email screenshots. Have a slide coming up for that, which will give you a really good indication of what I'm talking about there. But this is, in my opinion, one of the best features about these products, and one of what enables us to do this is what I talked about earlier, the fact that they are SIP devices. So that these cameras can, as I mentioned, proactively let you know through a variety of ways, to a variety of devices, through a variety of connections, we'll say. And again, I'll cover this later. But all of that just allows you to really allows these cameras to proactively keep your business, your school, your warehouse, your retail store safe all the time. So full support for motion detection built into these guys as well. So as I mentioned earlier, it gives you, both of these devices are they are exactly the same, other than the shape of the camera and the physical look of the product. So they both are going to give you a fixed 3.6 millimeter lens. It's ideal for wide angle monitoring of close proximity subjects. So these cameras are really ideal for building entrances, for indoor rooms, for outdoor delivery areas, for specific outdoor air, like a pool, for example, at a hotel or at an apartment complex. You're not monitoring anything probably more than 20 to 30 to 40 feet away from the camera, but this camera is going to give you really wide angle to cover ideally 30 to 40 feet fully clearly. Obviously, it will see even further than that. And as I mentioned earlier, that infrared LED, if you are using this at night or in dark areas, that infrared LED is set up to cover 20 meters away from the camera. So the 3.6 millimeter lens allows these cameras to be ideal for offices, for banks, retail stores, warehouses, building entrances, even homes, apartment complexes, hotels, etc. Powerful and flexible video protection. So we're not just talking about an endpoint that sees what it sees and sends recording for somewhere. These devices give you a lot of power and a lot of great, a lot of quality and a lot of functionality to make sure that you're always up to date and you always know what's going on whatever setting you're using to monitor with these cameras. So talked about the full 1080p earlier. Dual streaming, which is big, again, allows it to send this feed to 2 different locations. So for example, when an alarm, if you have it set so motion is detected and it automatically triggers a video call to your security team, for example, with this dual streaming, it would be able to both make that video call and also continue sending the recording back to wherever you're recording it with. Powerful deployment options, those built-in LED cameras, or built-in infrared LEDs, allow the cameras to be used not only at night, but obviously it also has that IP66 weatherproof casing to be used outdoors as well. The proactive alerts and integrations, which I keep talking about, I have some slides coming up for you and I'll give you more details. But basically, again, these cameras have a variety of different ways because of that SIP functionality that allows them to proactively alert you or whatever devices you set when a security event occurs. And also important to mention that these devices, just like our previous series of IP cameras, if any of you may have used those, are fully compatible with ONVIF. I believe it's ONVIF Profile S compliant, so it will work with any third-party ONVIF device. And here we're mostly talking about recording and monitoring platforms, network video recorders, network-attached storage devices, just to name a few. All right, so continuing to jumping into more specifically some of these features, and again, some of these I already covered, so we can go through them pretty quick. One of the reasons why today is such a quick webinar. So as I mentioned throughout, and this is actually in a slide that I took from our old IP video surveillance training, so you can see that really nothing has changed in the way we're building these cameras. And as I keep talking about, one of the coolest things about these is the SIP VoIP support that they offer, and that allows these cameras, because they're based on SIP, to make and receive SIP calls with other SIP endpoints. Specifically here, we're talking about our own IP voice and video phones. So that when a camera is set for motion detection, for example, and it senses somebody, maybe you have it at the entrance to your warehouse and you want every time somebody shows up to make a call to inside the warehouse. It can be set to do that. The device, as soon as it senses motion detection, can make a call to our GXV series at the security desk or inside, and then they could actually have a two-way communication, two-way voice and video communication if you're using our video phones that way. Because they're SIP phone or cameras, they're extremely easy to deploy. You're literally just setting them as SIP extensions on your IP PBX or on your hosted platform or whatever SIP network you're using. So these cameras will work with existing VoIP infrastructures. It doesn't require any new wiring or any new networks to be set up just to add video surveillance. So the other thing, other than everything we've talked about that's so great with SIP and VoIP, is that they just, allow you to add surveillance to existing networks. You don't have to build a whole new IP video surveillance or security network. It's going to work with the existing VoIP infrastructure, and it's actually going to allow you to, as you'll see and as I've talked about, to expand the functionality of your IP phones, for example. Voice and video phones are now devices that can be proactively connected to your IP video surveillance network and can proactively let you know when a security event occurs. All right, so here is the visual that I was mentioning of all the different alerts, or the main alerts that we focus on that these cameras offer.
I don't know that.
Apologies, my Alexa, which is sitting right next to me, just started talking. So the four main alert or notification options that these cameras offer, and again, a lot of this, especially 2 and 3, the ones in the middle, are specifically because these are SIP cameras and not just IP cameras. So live view, that is whatever platform, and again, something else to remember as we're going through here is that in terms of video, the cameras do have dual streaming. So the different alerts and notifications, obviously it will, if a security event occurs, and motion detection is just the easiest example to give, or anything else that you have set, the camera will notify your monitoring and management platform, and that's the live view, if you will. Whatever is being used to monitor and record the live video, it will notify that, whether it's our own GSurf Pro platform, which I'll tell you about in a moment, or an OnVIF third-party platform, it will notify that interface that a security event or alarm has occurred on that camera. The device can then also be set to, and I think this is the most powerful example, to make a video call to video devices. And this can be any SIP video device, but we're obviously going to always promote our own GXV series of IP video phones, which then also, if you're, to get into another facility access product that we offer, if you're using our GDS series of door access cameras, it's another reason, frankly, why you should use our video phones or our own phones, because those devices are also optimized to open doors right out of the box with our GDS series. And we could have a whole other webinar on just that topic. So we talked about the live view. The other one, if the camera can make video calls to video devices, here we're showing you our GXV series, but also our GSC intercom and facility control station, a device we released a couple of weeks ago, does have the ability to show inbound video. So that GSC3510 is really a great device to put in with a security team, with a receptionist, with anyone that is going to kind of monitor or manage a facility, a school, a warehouse, an office, whatnot. so that right from that device, they would not only be able to at any point in time see the live feed of the cameras from either one of those devices or any of our video devices, but also be able to receive live video calls when security alerts occur. So we're not just talking here about the cameras being able to call these devices. Because you're setting up the cameras as SIP extensions, they can also, or any device, any SIP device can then call those cameras. So if I'm sitting at my desk and maybe I hear something, maybe that's a bad example. I keep, obviously offices as the predominant example, but obviously with, COVID and all that, I be honest, think we're probably talking more about specific verticals, schools, warehouses, that kind of stuff. So the example I'll give there is if, a warehouse manager hears something strange going on back by the warehouse entrance or noise where they might not be expecting a delivery, they can just pick up the video phone on their desk, call that extension, and see exactly what's going on with the camera. They can our cameras can also, because they're SIP devices, provide voice call alerts. So you can pre-program a message that can go out to, I believe it's up to three different SIP extensions from the cameras with, hey, camera 5 has sounded an alarm. Please check it. Something like that. So that, with maybe employees that don't have video phones, or if you don't have any video phones, that's another great way to allow the cameras to notify you. Obviously, by doing it that way, you can also receive the notifications or the alerts on Grandstream Wave, our free soft phone app running on an Android device or an Android or iOS device, for example. The fourth option for alerts and notifications is email screenshots, where the camera can be set to, as soon as a security event occurs, to immediately take a screenshot and email that screenshot to up to 3 or 4 different email addresses. Obviously, the most powerful option there is when motion is detected, it automatically takes a picture and sends it to email addresses. So that could be a great backup for the weekend or for at night when people might not be on location. So yeah, those are the main alerts and notifications I'm talking about. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of these, specifically the video and the voice calls, are because these are SIP cameras. And one of the things you'll see as we talk about competition coming up is that the majority of the video surveillance camera manufacturers that you're probably familiar with actually are not making true SIP cameras. So we'll get to that, but these are some great alerts and notifications that our cameras offer. I talked about the smart infrared technology later. We're just continuing on with some of the major features these guys offer. I threw some orange arrows down there at the bottom to just point out the 2 infrared LEDs on the front of each camera that allows them to monitor in low light, in dark, or in enclosed conditions. And as I mentioned a couple of times, those 2 LEDs allow the cameras to monitor up to 20 meters in dark or low light conditions. Weatherproof casing, we've covered this a couple of times. Obviously, pretty straightforward here. Both of them are made with that IP66 certified weatherproof casing. Just allows the camera to be used outdoors in rain, snow, sleet, extreme temperatures, etc. Obviously, these cameras are kind of, one camera that's built to be able to be used both indoors and outdoors. So I do also, every time we talk about the weatherproof casing, want to mention that these cameras are deployed indoors as much as they're deployed outdoors. 1080p video, again, we support full 1080p HD video on these devices on the primary stream. As I mentioned earlier, does give you support for 2 streams. The secondary stream is a little bit lower, as you can see, just below 720p. We use, just like our previous set of cameras, H.264, JPEG, MPEG, MJPEG video compression. We've added H.265 video compression to this series of cameras. Then it does give you a progressive scan CMOS image sensor built on the device. Very similar to the cameras that we had on the market a couple of years ago. Again, we essentially took a step back with our previous GXV series, and we have built them in a way that offers actually a little bit higher end, a little bit better quality, a little bit more features, but it's going to do so, as you'll see coming up, at a much lower price point than our previous series, which is the main reason we took a step back. We wanted to be able to, like we do with a lot of our products, offer more for less. And our cameras, the previous series towards the end, weren't fitting that bill. So we took a step back, rebuilt them, and here we have our new GSC series. To finish up here on the feature highlights, 110 100 megabit Ethernet port built in. Does give you built-in power over Ethernet, which allows the cameras to be powered by PoE, not to give it out. And important to mention here that a traditional power adapter is not included with this. So we are essentially relying on the PoE. I mentioned this a couple of times, but just to actually throw up a slide for it, in terms of managing our cameras, and here we're talking about monitoring and recording the live video feeds. A couple of different options for you. We are ONVIF Profile S compliant, just like our previous series of IP cameras, so that these GSC series cameras will be fully compliant with any other ONVIF capable video management software, network attached storage, or network video recorder. If you're looking for a really powerful and really free, yes, I said really free option for recording, we have our own GSurf Pro platform. Some of you guys may be familiar with this from a couple of years ago when we did have that full series of cameras I mentioned. This has been our free video surveillance management and monitoring tool. It's been out, I think, for 4 or 5 years now, so it's a very stable product, very stable, and again, free software. Works specifically with Grandstream IP video surveillance cameras, has a couple of tools built in that allows this software to auto-discover your cameras and automatically set them up for monitoring with GSurf Pro. Just to point out, it is a Windows-based video management software. You can download GSurf Pro by going to, if you go to the support tab on our website, there'll be a tools section, and you can find tools under there. Or you can find GSurf Pro under tools. We will also have a page for it in the facility management section of our website if you go to recording and monitoring systems. It's not recording and monitoring systems. It's something similar to that. I forget off the top of my head. Let me take a quick drink here. All right, we're beginning to wrap up here. I see I've already gone a little bit longer than I had planned to. So I've talked about this throughout. You saw it on a slide earlier, but just again to give it a visual, these cameras ideally integrate with a number of Grandstream products. And this is one of the things that we're able to offer that really most of our competitors are not, because we make such a wide variety of devices. Right, we're not just an IP phone manufacturer, we're a facility access device manufacturer, we're a PBX manufacturer. We also provide a variety of free management and monitoring software, not just for this stuff, but for other products as well. So because of this, we offer pretty much every product you're going to need to build a full video surveillance system that is integrated with an existing VoIP network that you may already have. So these cameras, as we mentioned, because they're SIP cameras, they're deployed and installed simply by setting them up as a SIP extension on a PBX. And here, obviously, we're always going to promote our own UCM series of IP PBXs. Great feature they offer for setting these guys up is auto discovery and zero config, so that the UCM could go out and find these cameras on its network, tell you that it's got them, and then you can allow or have the UCM auto-configure them, provide a SIP extension for you. You can obviously give it some rules or do that all manually yourself. A product that we came out with a couple of weeks ago that I talked about on a slide earlier, that GSC3570, again, that is an intercom and facility monitoring solution. So that device goes far beyond just being something that can monitor, arm, and check up on cameras. That GSC3570 is also a device that does pair with our GDS series of door access cameras to give you a centralized platform, centralized device to allow people into the building or to monitor door access with those cameras. The GSC3570 also integrates with our intercom and public address speakers, so that from this device you could make intercom announcements or paging or send out a voice page, for example. So the 3570 is great for more than just the cameras. It's really kind of a centralized product to enable you to monitor the access and security of your facility through IP cameras, through door access cameras, through intercom, through public address. And because it is a SIP device, it can also make SIP calls to any other IP phone, video phone, whatnot. Continuing on with the Grandstream integrations, the GXV series we've been seeing these devices for years, paired with our IP cameras, even in the previous series of cameras we had. It's such a powerful solution that it sets up because of the video functionality. So the example that I've given a couple times that I'll give again, you have a camera, just for example, set for motion detection at the back of a warehouse. Just to use one example, the camera senses motion, automatically triggers a video call into the security office or the warehouse manager, who can actually see on their screen the live video of who is there and what is going on. So really powerful little solution there. You can apply that to any vertical, to a home, to a hospital, to a school, to an apartment complex. What I just explained also, using the GXV series with our door access cameras, is another great solution there, which would allow you to actually open doors on the GXV phones. So some great functionality by integrating the GXV series of IP phones into these solutions. And then I talked about GSurf Pro, again, a free management software, which you can download off of our website and is made for Grandstream IP cameras. All right, so we're going to begin to wrap up here over the next couple of minutes. Just real quickly, I want to throw up a competitive analysis for you. And we'll just go to the next slide. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier, and a lot of you might be looking at this comparison chart and thinking, where are the access cameras and where are the hike vision? I always say it wrong, cameras. And the answer is that and this goes back to what I talked about earlier, the true, one of the real innovations and one of the real unique things about our cameras is they are SIP cameras. Most of the devices that you're going to get from Axis, most of the devices you're going to get from Hike Vision are IP cameras, meaning that they are not really built to be able to make or receive calls on an open SIP platform, and that's what our devices are built for. So all of the other devices you see here are the other manufacturers of SIP-based cameras, not IP cameras, but SIP cameras. So Milesight and Mobotics are two of the other ones that we come up across quite a bit. And I'll send out a recording of this webinar so you can take a greater look at this and really spend more time looking at this chart on the screen. But if you look through it, you're going to find, again, that we're pretty much offering the highest quality and across this line of SIP cameras, and all of it at a $59 USD manufacturer suggested retail price. Again, $59 MSRP for a indoor-outdoor IP video surveillance camera, the dual streaming, all the alerts and notifications that we talked about throughout. So to wrap up here, this is the last slide that I have, just to give it a little bit of a vertical industry focus here. Obviously, there's pretty much any type of business, any organization, any setting anymore would really see a lot of advantages from integrating a video security network. And the great thing about our devices is that they allow you to install them, deploy them, and utilize existing VoIP networks and actually expand the functionality of a lot of your IP phones, IP video phones around the facility. So businesses, education, especially nowadays with schools maybe looking at potential of not having everybody in all the time, this would give the school the ability to remotely monitor itself, or a remote security guard, or also being able to receive alerts and notifications of anything that occurs after hours. Retail, obviously, video security is almost required within the retail industry. A lot of stores have VoIP or SIP networks set up, whether it be through an on-premise PBX or a hosted platform that the larger company might use. This gives you ability to add security onto that existing network that can communicate with the existing devices. And you know, retail, for example, is a great example of where that GSC monitoring station could come in. I used warehouses as the example throughout, and I think that especially right now, as you know, due to COVID, as online ordering becomes even more popular than it was before. I know, at least here in the United States, Amazon's looking to increase their warehouses all over the place because of that, and because a lot more people are ordering stuff online. So there's definitely going to be a big need to keep those safe and secure. And here with our cameras, you're not just monitoring them, but a wide variety of the alerts, the integration with the door access, the video phones, all that other stuff. Hotels, obviously, if you walk into any hotel nowadays, for the most part, they're going to have security cameras in the main hallways, in the elevator areas, in the lobby, in any common areas. And honestly, over the last couple of years, hotels has been one of the most popular case studies that we've come across. So I can tell you that many hotels have switched to or are switching to IP or VoIP solutions, and this is a great addition to that. And then obviously banks probably need video security more than ever before, or excuse me, more than any of these other industries I mentioned. So just to wrap up here, these devices are extremely easy to deploy. They're compatible with VoIP platforms and IP PBXs. It's easy to add them to a SIP network just as an extension. They give you that 24/7 surveillance monitoring and recording, full HD and the infrared for low light or dark conditions. The ability to integrate and communicate with other SIP endpoints, providing those proactive real-time alerts. The flexible management of these devices through OnVIF or through our own free tool, and at that $59 MSRP with everything I mentioned, just really allowing you to maximize budgets to add video security to business solutions at a real cost-effective rate without sacrificing any real security. With that, that wraps up today's webinar. I see it went a little bit longer than I had planned to, so I do apologize for that. Do appreciate everybody sticking around. We're really excited about these cameras. Those of you that follow us closely know that we've been releasing a lot of products over the last couple of months, and you might know that we have a bunch of stuff that we're working on that you're going to see over the next couple of months. And even with all of that, these cameras have been some of the most popular new products that we've put out this year. I'm getting as many questions, inquiries about these cameras as almost any other product that we've launched this year, and that, or are going to launch, and that includes our upcoming new series of PBXs, which we've done some webinars on. So these cameras, I think it's surprised myself a little bit, but we've been blown away by the anticipation of these cameras. I know a lot of resellers are looking for them. Heard from a lot of resellers that that SIP functionality I mentioned throughout is really big and differentiates these cameras. So we're really excited for them. They are fully available. They were launched last week, and you can get them from your Grandstream distributor. With that, that wraps up what I had planned for the webinar. I'm going to unshare my screen so I can pop back in and do the question and answer. So if you did ask any questions throughout, I'll go through those now. Feel free to also send any questions over to me. I'm going to unshare my screen.